Hello, and welcome to Discovering with Dr. Deb. We're new to podcasting, but I certainly hope this content is helpful to you. Over the course of the next couple seasons, I'll be sharing content about the Enneagram, trauma, and how living in this pandemic has added a lot of trauma to our lives, and how to move on from here. EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, and how it helps people move through and past their trauma, self-care, and more mental health stuff. We'll be spending the first season looking at the Enneagram and how you can use the Enneagram to learn more about yourself and why you do what you do. Discovering the Enneagram with Dr. Deb is next.
All right, here we are today with our Enneagram Four friends, or friends who identify as a four.
As a four.
Right. And I'm here with my trusted Ennea advisor.
Ooh,
I like that.
You changed
That
it
just
up on
came
me.
to me.
That was good.
Yeah, okay.
That was very spontaneous for a
I know,
9.
I know.
I like it. It's good.
You know, I gotta keep it real.
You gotta keep it real.
Yeah. So
I got the one for next one.
Okay, good.
Next episode.
I was just going to call
Next
you the
episode's on me.
sidekick.
The sidekick.
Sidekick. That's good. We haven't done that one yet.
No. Ennea sidekick. I do like that one.
That one's free.
Be watching for that on the 7th.
I'm excited about 4s.
I am too. So this is Jason Gilmore, my Ennea sidekick, Ennea advisor, Ennea everything. Ennea everything.
Ennea everything. We've had a blast doing
We
this.
have.
We've had so much fun.
We have. So here with today we've got Brooke and Jason, who are friends who are Enneagram Fours. So just as my kind of intro to it, Enneagram is a personality typing system, and it's a tool that we really love because it helps us to know ourselves better and love our people better. It's just a tool, one of many, that can help with personal growth. We really find it helpful. So we're talking with a male and female of each type, and these are just friends who are just normal people who found the Enneagram helpful for understanding themselves better. Of course, they don't represent everything about their number, nor do they represent every person who identifies with their number. It just gives us a glimpse into their type. Be sure to go back and listen to the other types too. So the type 4s, they're kind of called the individualists. And so we want to welcome to the podcast today Jason and Brooke. So you're the 4s that we wanted to have on our podcast today. So feel free to kind of introduce yourself, your first name, jobs, kids. What is it about you that kind of you bring to the table, per se, as a 4?
As a 4, nothing, absolutely nothing. My name's Jason. I work at Anchored Hope Counseling. Shout out to Anchored Hope.
Shout out.
What is just the basic stuff?
Basic stuff.
I have 3 sons. They are 20, 18, and 12.
Oh my word.
So the whole 4 thing is that has given me something to focus on all these years, and as they're getting older, I'm like, I have to find out what my own life is going to be like now. So that's an interesting thing. I play guitar and sing. It's kind of a 4 thing. I paint when I feel like it. I don't do it as much as I used to publicly because I've kind of gotten to this place in life where it's like I don't want all the attention and eyeballs on me where I used to crave that for the validation, I think.
Yeah.
So I just kind of do that at my house mostly now. But
Gotcha.
But that's the basics.
Yeah, that's the basics.
Very
Good
good.
little put your toe in
We
the
got
water.
Jason squared over here.
Got him,
Jason
yes.
squared.
All right, Brooke, tell us a little about you.
Yeah, my name's Brooke Hegel. I am single, 32, Arkansas native. I've been doing graphic design and photography since 2008. Just started my own creative agency studio almost 2 years ago now called Tributary Studio.
Ooh.
So I do that full time for myself, and I've got no kids. I've got 7 nieces and nephews for my life. That's like they each got a tattoo on my arm of a flower. So
that's cool.
that's a very 4 thing, I feel like.
It really very much is. Yeah.
I grew up with parents that were DJs, and so music has always been a huge part of my life. And so I lead worship at my church and sing. I don't really play any instruments right now. I'm learning piano currently, so
That's so awesome.
That is awesome.
And I have a huge collection of vinyl.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me
nice.
too.
That kind of feeds into the next question. Like, tell me a 4 without telling me you're a 4. So,
Yeah.
what would you say about that?
The thing about that
Although
question...
everything you just introduced tells
were
us
things.
you're a 4.
I know. I was like, that question alone brings out how much of a 4 I am, because I'm like, there's not just one thing, it's everything about me. And like, what am I going to tell them that's like unique enough to like make me stand out? And it's like, there's not one thing I can like put my finger on. But I feel like if
That's awesome.
what I was like talking to my sister about is that if it's not aesthetically pleasing, like I don't want a part of it. Like it's really hard for me to be a part of it. But I also have like a band or playlist for every emotion that I feel.
Okay, so speaking of emotions, have you guys heard the sleeping?
Sleeping at Last.
Sleeping
Oh,
at
absolutely.
Last songs?
Absolutely. All of them.
No, I haven't.
He's a genius.
Okay, so
Okay.
Ryan O'Neal, right?
I don't even know his
Yes,
real
Ryan
name.
O'Neal. You need to listen to,
Yeah.
and that really for all of our Ennea
Yeah,
listeners.
he's created a song that just speaks to
Wraps
each
up.
Enneagram type.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
And
And
even
each,
the
each has a
music.
different feel, the
Different
the
vibe.
reasons he uses specific
Even
instruments.
4's going to be in a
like,
minor key, right?
Oh, it's
Has to be.
beautiful. You will cry.
Okay.
You will legitimately
Yeah.
cry.
I did legit cry when
Yeah.
I first
When you heard your
mine.
3?
It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful.
I'm a feeler.
Yeah. So what about you? Tell us you're a 4 without telling
I'll
us you're
throw
a
a
4.
couple little just
Okay.
one lines out there that I
Okay.
thought of. Number one, speaking of music, I take great pride in the fact that almost none of my friends know about or care to know about any of my favorite bands.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, you post things on Instagram, like when you're at a concert, I'm like, never heard of that.
Yeah.
That's-
I know.
Yeah.
Never
that's how
heard
it
of that.
goes.
Oh, he's at a concert. Never heard of
And I
that.
get,
Never heard of
and I
that.
get really upset
Yeah.
when a band that I like a whole lot gets super popular and then everybody
Oh,
knows them.
shoot.
It's not fun anymore. I've had that happen with a few.
That
That's a 4 thing.
That's a very 4
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
that's my discovery.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
them. Nobody else is into them. That's
Right.
Right.
The other
yes.
one would just be a simple statement like all of my favorite days are rainy days.
Yeah. Oh, I love that too.
When I was a kid, I used to drive my mom wild. As soon as it started to rain, one drop, I'm outside.
Because you like to be in it.
I'm just out there. I love it. It's the best. Like, this is the
We're
best.
inspired by melancholy, and
Yeah.
rain kind of brings on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, I would track
Sense.
mud everywhere, and she was like,
Yeah,
"I don't
she's-
understand why you want to go outside every time it rains."
This is
Sorry,
great.
Mom.
This is great.
It is great.
So stereotypes of 4 is that they think there's nobody else like me. And you guys are already speaking to that, but talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I think something he even already mentioned of like the giving up the spotlight. I literally had that written down, like giving up the spotlight as I've kind of matured as an adult. Of I used to just always want to be center of attention, and I still like find myself in that
Yeah.
like vein sometimes
Yeah.
of wanting to, you want to be seen, you want to just be like the one in the limelight. But I feel like I've definitely, as you mature, you want to give a space for other people to like be there as well and show their own uniqueness in the world.
But with the 4, isn't it like, look at me, look at me, look at me, but not really, not too much? I mean, because 3s are like, look at me, look at me, look at
Oh,
me.
really? I don't
but
know.
4s are more, I feel like, because I have a 16-year-old daughter that I really think is a 4. And she's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. But then when it comes down to it, she's like,
Don't look at
don't
me.
make me talk to them out in public, or whatever.
Oh.
And it's like, oh no, see, I think, it's, and with 3s, it's like, let me at them. Like, where's the spotlight?
Look at me and don't stop.
Yeah.
That might be something that maybe like I wing to or something, because like I
Maybe
feel
you wing
more.
to a 3.
I feel more of like they'll look at me whenever I am in that. Like I would, talk to anybody.
In that
like,
moment,
oh
feeling
yeah,
confident.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
untouchable,
Yeah.
like.
interesting.
But you're saying that you feel the opposite.
I feel like it's been that way for me. Now, there's always. Can I give you just how I picture another thing? I don't know if this is just me being a 4, but I tend to see everything in pictures.
Oh, sure.
So I'm like analogy about everything. I kind of see personality is like if we're cooking a good stew here, our life is going to be a good stew. Personality is like your stock. So that can be whatever base flavor you start off. But then you throw in all the experiences that you've been through in life. And if you get some really, really good ingredients, it can be really good. If you get some not so good ones, we can be pretty nasty too, So, and I think we're all like that. And so there are different things that I think would differentiate. Even within 4s,
Yeah.
we're still, unique. Like we're
Right.
not
Right.
we're not this
Right.
monolithic.
Exactly.
We're fours. We're all the
Yeah,
same.
Right.
Which
exactly.
would be our worst nightmare. you know?
Right.
Exactly.
So we
Absolutely.
probably will have some differences
Yeah.
today, but
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
which
that doesn't
other
make-
numbers have tend to be like, oh, totally relate with that, totally relate with that. Seems like they've been very,
Agreeing.
Maybe there's been a couple that haven't been so much, but that's a good interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to come down to the subtypes. So somebody
Yeah.
might be more self-preservation
Mhm.
for, somebody might be more social for.
Mhm.
I know when I was teaching, I think it was last year, I had one of my internship classes. I always have them do the Enneagram, and I had a 4, and he said he's a musician in Nashville in the counseling program, and he said, I was so excited to read, like, oh my gosh, there are other people that understand what this feels like. And then he goes, oh my gosh, there are other people that know what this feels like. This isn't
Yeah.
unique to me. And so it's this kind of catch-22 as he was describing it.
Yeah.
Does that sound at all familiar to you, or?
I don't think I struggle with that as much now as I probably used to, of just like wanting to be, my own person, beat
Right,
to my
right.
own drum, and like
Right.
no one else is like me.
Right.
But yeah, I think that yeah, it just depends, I guess, on the situation,
Right, right.
the environment and the person.
I mean,
but-
just the creativity aspect, I think, that 4s bring, like it's what, because they have a unique perspective or approach, that's what lends itself to all these different creative expressions of things.
and it's cool to connect with like other people that do those same things, and so yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the stereotypical things that I've heard from other folks who know Enneagram is like they automatically assume it's like you think you're unique, so you're better than other people. Like, I'm special. And I'm like, I don't
think
feel
it's
that
that
way at all. I
way.
feel like it makes me feel like a misfit sometimes.
Ah,
Right.
yes.
Like, I wish I could
Yes.
Like
just
I'm out of place. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say this. I feel like I can click, I can get in there and relate to almost any individual that I meet. But in a large group, it's like I hate people. You know?
Right,
Or like
like-
you're trying to like feel like where do you belong
Where do I
in
belong
that?
in this?
Right.
And it really comes into effect with like, in church or political affiliations
Right.
or things like that. It's like, I don't agree with all of these things these people are saying. Therefore, I don't fit in. I'm not like one of those
Yeah.
party
Cookie
line
cutter,
type people.
yeah.
Like, no, because I have my
Right.
own ideas and they
Right.
are,
Yeah.
quote, unique. But that's not like me being,
Better
I
than
think I'm
you.
better. It's like,
Right.
I really don't feel like I fit in sometimes.
Right.
So I just kind of,
Well, and
Lay
Ian,
back,
Ian Morgan Cron has a podcast called Typology. He's a 4, and he often says like 4s have this just this kind of intense feeling like there's something missing. There's something missing within them that feels differently for them. So it's that feeling of unique and different, but not like special or more grand than anybody else. It's different because of a deficiency rather than something
Exactly.
positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you guys disintegrate, like when you're just in full meltdown or anything, does it happen fast for you or?
Yeah.
Look at you both. Like, yeah.
I feel like it can happen instantaneously depending on
Really?
the situation or to the degree of like what happened that was like out of my control, or something goes awry, and it's just like mentally, it can happen mentally and emotionally, or it can happen like even sometimes with my behaviors where I totally like go off the rails and like eat terrible food and stop working out, or like whatever it is that I know keeps me healthy. Like my whole routine could be thrown off like in an instant.
And you're over here nodding.
yeah, it's, and I feel like over the years, like I've done a lot of therapy and I've done a lot trying to, personally grow. Cause I feel like in the past, there was a time it was like, 0 to 60 like that.
Yeah.
And now I find myself when I get in situations where there's conflict or anything, I'm trying so hard not to allow that to happen. I'm like, I'm just going to be really calm.
I'm gonna be
cool
chill.
about
Everything's
You're
okay.
telling yourself, be
I'm gonna be
chill,
all right.
Jason.
Yes,
yeah.
it's literally like
Yeah.
the meme of the guy
Yeah.
typing with the
Yeah.
house on fire. Everything's okay. I'm telling myself that inside. But then when I finally get to that point, I'm kind of like a long fuse type
Yeah.
person.
Uh-huh.
But it's because I'm put so much work in, and I'm trying to not react to my it's
Right.
learning that it's okay to feel those strong emotions, but not necessarily
Right.
react to them,
Right.
and let them start driving the car, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
But then it just gets to a certain point, so it appears on the outside like I was completely calm, and then I'm just like, oh, well, you know what? That was the last straw, you know.
Because we
And
know
so,
what triad
right.
they're in.
Oh, yes. They're a feeler. They're in the
No,
heart
we're not.
triad.
No, we're not.
So on the way to school one morning, my daughter, I think she's going to be a 4, y'all. Okay, I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling the 4-ness. So she gets a little anxious and blows things out of proportion a little bit, you know. And it's over the craziest little things. And we're driving to school one day, and she, you know,
Melts down.
has a moment about something that's like, whoa, why are we melting down about this? And then I'm like, hey, do you want to get like an iced coffee or something? Total mood change. It all went away. Everything, every worry went away.
I know.
So the reason I'm bringing that up is like,
Help me
is it
understand
that quick
that.
for you guys? Like, can you flip the script that quick? Like, it seemed like for her, it was just she could really like it's not that she forgot about what she was stressing about. It's just, to me, it was like, man, she was just so quick to.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if this is going to
don't even
answer
know how
the
to say what I'm
question
trying to
directly,
say.
but I feel like something that ties along with this is that, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I have this like idyllic personality, right? Where I see the best in everyone, and I see how something should be in the
Yes.
world, and I want to get there all the time, every single minute of every single day, and so I'm constantly striving for that. And when our expectations are not met, right, of that idyllic thing, whatever it is, then it can, if you're unhealthy, it can be really easy to like snap just like that, because your whole reality is like not true. It's not happening,
this
right?
is happening, right?
So I feel like I have to constantly ground and like, again, with the Enneagram, like, I don't treat it as my identity. Like, my identity is in Christ. But, so it's like,
Right.
I try to ground myself in, like, what I know is true and have a balance of, like, okay, this is my reality. This is really what's going on. Instead of, like, even if it's not like this, like, what's the, you know, what am I trying to think of? Like, what is the word I'm trying to
What's
think of?
real? Like,
You're like, your expectations aren't met, so you compromise. Like, what's the compromise,
right.
And so it's not happening how you see it, but it's still okay.
Gotcha.
well, you were kind of saying that too. Is like you're telling yourself,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
don't overreact in this situation,
Yes.
and that's probably like gaining some health throughout your adulthood.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you put that very, very well, because I definitely identify with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No doubt.
So some 4s say, I feel too much. So does that resonate with you guys?
There was a time.
You don't feel that way anymore, even
I-
going through, like, counseling and, like, all of the things you've done for health. Like, you don't
Well,
have
I'd be a
moments of
liar
that?
if I said I never felt that way,
Okay.
but not near as often.
Because I was like,
as
how do
as
we
I
get there?
used
Because
to.
I've been in counseling for the last, like, 5
Yeah.
years, and
Um,
I still feel too much.
EMDR is helpful. I'll just
That's
throw that
right,
shout
there
out.
we go.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's I've felt like that in the past, most definitely. Like,
Yeah.
it's just too much. But then sometimes there are times now that I wish it was like a switch and I could just
Oh my gosh.
turn
me
it
too.
on, because I used to write songs in like 5 minutes.
I know.
I would just start
Incredible.
strumming and it would just like come-
Incredible.
I haven't written a song in 5 or 6 years.
That's like a standout
Because I
thing
can't
for
write a
me
happy
about
one.
you.
Is your
I can't write a happy
Wait, did you hear that? I can't write a happy
I need to
song.
get really, really depressed and we'll have some music.
You
I
got
would-
some killer songs.
I wonder if you're like, is your attention more on your kids and like their immediate needs rather than like
That's a
your
good
own
question.
emotions?
Probably, but I do think I've gotten better at handling it and not. I think one thing that was in one of the overviews you sent us of that type was talking about how when 4s get into an emotional state, they want more of it. So
Yeah.
when you're sad, you want to be sadder, which is completely true with me, because I used to just sit there and I'd be sad, so I'd turn on my
Sad
sad
I want to
songs
be
music.
real
playlist.
sad.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wanna
And
be
then
real
one would
sad.
lead to another, and
Light a
I would
candle.
just go
Yes.
down that.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore. I don't
Oh.
allow myself to
To
do
go
So,
deep there.
I'll be honest with you. I was having a rough day today, this morning, and I said, I know I don't look like it, but I was like, okay, I'm getting up. because I found myself. I want to like turn on the sad music.
Yeah.
I want to just go down this rabbit hole. I'm getting up and I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I was like, because I know where that will lead.
Where you will go.
I will be
Yeah,
there
yeah.
all day. I'll get nothing done.
Right.
I would have come in here like wiping tears, and
Yeah.
everybody be like, "Man, you went to the max with this sport."
That's good
You know?
self-awareness. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I
that is good.
definitely relate to the feeling too much, like for the majority of like my life, for sure. And it can be any emotion at any given moment for any circumstance. What I was gonna say something else about that. Which number is that? Was
It
4?
was like 5.
Oh, okay. Oh, but I was just thinking, like, even sometimes I've caught myself being like, I'm like too much for myself because of my emotions. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so
Yeah.
overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
Of like, I annoy
Takes
myself.
a lot of energy.
It does. It's exhausting.
I did not write down notes, but that is one thing that I had mentally bookmarked in my mind,
Really?
because there was one in there that was talking about relationships or something, like
Okay.
other people thinking you're too much, and I was like, I feel like I'm too much for
For
myself,
myself.
which is hilarious that you
Yeah.
said that first.
Yeah.
But you also
Yeah.
like put in the question, right, about like finding who is safe to like
To talk-
share those
right.
emotions with or whatever. And so through counseling and just, I don't know, a lot of other things, realizing like who is safe to share my emotions with, but also like through counseling realizing oversharing is like a trauma response. And so
Yes.
the trauma that we've experienced as fours of like abandonment and things like that go back to the relationship aspect of things. It's like, well, I want to show you exactly who I am with all of my emotions, and you can see for yourself at the very beginning, and if you want to leave me, like, do it now, because like you're not gonna hurt me
Right,
later.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so
So
you're
it's like a self-protection
Yeah,
mode.
you're
We're
putting
giving
it
you
out there.
everything right now.
Yeah.
Right,
That
right.
is
If you're
Which
going to
has
reject me, don't.
100% true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which goes well sometimes,
All the
but
way.
then other times it does
No.
not.
It might be a little too
Too
much.
much.
Right.
Mm.
Oh my goodness. So I was going to just read a little description. Suzanne Stabile, who is a Enneagram guru, expert, she describes fours this way. So I'll just read this to you. Fours are the most complex number, primarily because they are intense emotionally. I think we're already hearing that
I
from,
know, I love
from
it.
our expert
So
fours here.
dramatic.
And they are not comfortable with anything that is middle or that's average. So if a 4, they have more emotions than any other number, and they have an emotional swing that is exhausting for some of the other numbers. And part of that is because if they're sad, they want to be sadder, and if they're happy, they
Talked
want to be
about that.
happier. No average feelings for a 4. So they intensify both happy and sad. And 4s are textured people. They don't like things that are flat and slick and quick answers to hard questions. They contribute probably 40% of the beauty that is in the world in terms of music, dance, art, architecture, plants, all of it. They have an eye for beauty and depth and texture and color. They are uncomfortable in the world for a lot of reasons. There may be fewer 4s than any other number. Interesting.
Which I
Unique.
love.
Wow.
I knew they would.
Which they like.
I paused. I knew they would do that.
Both of them.
And fours
funny.
are very forthcoming, and a lot of people don't want to know about your life.
Right.
They want to know where you work and maybe where you live, but they don't want to know about your life. And fours don't feel like they've had any kind of meaningful exchange with you if all you know is kind of the boring stuff you can find out on Facebook. So Suzanne thinks fours are worth all the time that we give them. They don't abbreviate well. They don't fall right in line well. They don't want to be like everybody else. They want to have their own image. And interestingly enough, 4s and 7s look alike as children. That's because neither one gets enough. It's like they want a little more of everything that life offers. Just a little more. 4s have to learn to meet people in the middle in terms of social connection. So she's basically saying maybe not throw it all out there
Right,
on
right.
the first day.
Yeah.
They have to learn to say less and draw out less, and they have to be willing to give relationships time. But they are accustomed to people leaving them, so they kind of operate in the world of, I'm going to tell you everything as fast as I can tell you, and that way if you don't like me, then I'm not going to get hurt later. I'll just be sad today, and I'll take it right now. So that description, I'm guessing, really resonates for both of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moment I learned about the whole oversharing thing, it changed my life. Like, it took so much stress off of like, oh wow, I don't have to tell everybody every single thing up front. Like, this is easier.
It's less
this is better,
exhausting.
actually. It's a lot better. But yeah, I relate to a lot of that, just like always seeking beauty in the world and how I can add to it.
Right.
So just, it's, you can't do anything halfway. It's always the extreme for me. I feel like I've heard a lot that I'm an extremist, because it's like if I'm watching TV too much, I'm just gonna like put my TV upstairs and not watch it for months, and it's to be healthy, but it's like I go to the very extreme. It's not like I'm gonna cut down on my TV time. I'm gonna like go to the opposite.
You're gonna sell your
yeah,
TV.
I'm gonna sell it
in the yard sale on Facebook Marketplace, baby.
So have any of y'all seen the movie Into the Wild?
I don't think so.
So it's this guy, he goes through college, he's expected to just carry on, you're going to go be a businessman, and he just has this kind of existential crisis as he graduates, and so, he burns all his money and just backpacks and hikes everywhere and all of that type of thing, and so I think that's that mindset of, I don't think I would ever actually have the guts to do something like that, but when I watch that movie, I'm like, he's got it.
Oh yeah, he's got it all. He's got it going on.
That extremist type of idea of like, man, I just want to keep.
Your mom would not be okay with that.
No, she wouldn't. I think that has probably helped me not do a lot of dumb things.
Not go off the deep end there.
That description also made me think of a random memory from like childhood that actually has followed through with me into adulthood, of being on the bus going to school and having my like Walkman, right, of like my mixed CD, because like I made my own CDs.
Of course you did. The rest
and
of
I made
us
a
came
label
to
for
you
it. I know,
and asked you to make
yes, that was
a
my
mixed
gift
CD.
to all of my
Mixed
friends
tape.
for their
Mixed tape.
birthdays. I like made designed a custom
Mixed
label
tape,
for all of them. Yeah, but I would go down the road on this bus and visualize and map out the music video I was in to the songs, right? And I still do that in my car. Like,
I do
all
that.
these crazy.
That's so crazy. That is crazy.
Did y'all see? Jason said they see things in pictures. You see things in pictures.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll be listening to my favorite song while I'm walking, and I'm just thinking like, if this was a music video.
Yes.
That's so weird.
That is so amazing that you do the same thing.
Hey, nobody else does this except the four.
It's
Yeah,
just
really.
Fours are feeling. Fours
I
are
thought it
feeling
was
each other
only
right
me.
now.
Yeah, I thought it was only me too. That's what I was gonna
We should
say.
shoot a music video right now.
Guess what?
go.
We are. No, we're not.
Can we
is
pick the
amazing.
music that goes behind
Yes.
the
Of course.
podcast?
Very cinematic.
Yeah.
It would be much better than what I would choose.
That's such a Four thing.
I
love
it. Oh my goodness. Is there anything else from that description though that just kind of resonates with you or validates you?
I mean, pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
Is it okay to go back to something that we brought up earlier that
Sure.
I didn't really get to? You were talking about where you think maybe like the abandonment and that type of stuff comes in, which I've always thought, what forms personality? Like what made me like this?
Yeah.
And like I'm an adopted only child.
Yeah.
So when you're an only child, like I used to play football with myself, but I imagined the whole other team out there. I would throw it as high as I could go and run under it and catch it.
Uh-huh.
That type of thing.
You were
So-
every member of the team.
So the idea
That's
of,
Trauma in itself.
but I never viewed it that way.
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
I don't have to argue with anybody ever,
true.
Yeah.
if it's just me.
Right.
And so, but that idea of like, okay, the creativity,
Right.
like your mind becomes this imagination,
Yes.
world, and you are kind of forced to do that when you don't have siblings. And then the whole like abandonment thing that comes in with being adopted, even though I have great adoptive parents, there's still just that connection that you lose at birth when that happens. And so I've wondered if that didn't have like a major part of
Absolutely.
forming me to be a four.
Definitely.
For some children, obviously there are moments that are negative that make an impact on their life, and then for others, it's really not that they had a negative series of events happen in their childhood. It's just how they perceive
it, right, or how they interpreted it.
Yeah,
Right.
how they interpreted that moment.
Well, because I feel something similar of, I had two sisters, and like, sorry sisters if you're listening, but like I felt like super abandoned by them because they were already so close by the time I was born, even though I'm not that far behind them. And so I felt like my whole childhood was like me by myself, like trying to like gain the attention of them or whoever would watch me, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can feel that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to go first? I want you to finish this sentence. Nothing is worse than when I feel blank.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I put down misunderstood. So just like trying to express to anyone like how I'm feeling about a situation or whatever, and then either, you know, they're not understanding correctly or I'm not able to explain it in the right way. And so just feeling like either I walk away and I'm misunderstood, or even in that moment and I'm misunderstood and I don't know how to like get back or like explain fully so that
Gotcha.
I'm understood.
Right. So feeling misunderstood is
Yeah.
the worst. What about for you?
I completely agree with that, but I'm going to come up with something different. Because I don't want to just say everything you said.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah, that's a 4 thing. I would say when I'm forced to choose sides, because I do tend to see varying degrees of
Objectively.
grayness in the world, and it's really hard when somebody is. In fact, I was in a meeting one time at an old job I used to have, and there was an ethical dilemma that was kind of brought forward to the group, and our boss went around the room and said, everybody, I want you to tell me who's right and why.
Goodness.
And everyone else in the room, and now people chose different sides, but everyone was able to just be like, this is what I think, and this is why.
And you're like, I can see both sides.
It got to me, and I said, they're both right. And it was kind of like, my boss was like, that's why you'll never make your full potential, because you don't have a spine. And I was like,
Oh my
and
gosh.
so now I'm like, I think it makes me a wonderful counselor. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did the right
That's
thing
a
by
9
maintaining
thing too,
myself.
because 9 can see multiple perspectives
Yeah,
and
that's a
don't like
quality
to
of a
really
9.
commit to one or the other until they've processed it for a long
But that's
time.
me seeing, I look at it as seeing that beauty in
Right.
varying opinions rather than just
Right.
you're wrong and you're right.
Right, and see, that goes back to that motivation. It's not what you do, because they're similar, but the reasoning behind it is different.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So let's do the flip side of that.
right,
Nothing is better than when I feel.
right. What would you say to that?
I put seen and loved despite my flaws.
Oh, that's good.
So, you know, kind of self-explanatory, but like
Yeah.
someone seeing me fully, like you know the depths of who I am, and you stick around.
You love me.
choose to stay
Yes.
and you love me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say validated.
Yeah.
So that's
Validated.
similar vein
Yes, absolutely.
So I've read in a couple different books, Enneagram books, of course, that sometimes 4s will test a relationship. Is that true? And can you speak to that?
On this one, I didn't know what that
Right.
meant.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure. Do you have anything for that?
I think that would you brought it up earlier
Right.
about how like I'll just tell you
Put it all
everything
out
at the
there first.
beginning, and then you can decide whether you want to be my friend or whatever type
Yeah.
of relationship it is. That would be a form of that.
I would say that's a
So-
test.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
thing that I had written down was like, you know, at the beginning of a relationship, like I'm going to tell you the big things because like I'm fully just like don't care to be transparent, and then it's like if it doesn't work out, I'd rather know day 2 than like day 200, you know, and so that's probably what that's referring to.
Right. Yeah. What about you? About the same?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Completely.
So where we go in security and where we go in stress. So those are
These are our paths.
These are our paths, and they both help us. Sometimes people kind of have interpreted like if you go there in stress, that's bad, but we can use that to help us. So 4s go to 1 in security. So otherwise there would be no music that comes out of Nashville because 1s are the ones that make it happen, you know. So going to a 1 means that they do what is theirs to do, and that's how we get the art, the poetry, the dance, and all of the other ways they show beauty. So there are 4 mamas that use their creativity in raising their children. There are 4 dads who use their creativity in coaching their kids' teams. That may not come in first, but every kid's gonna have fun with a 4 coach. Without that 1 element, it's unclear if they would really cross the line into thinking about doing it to actually doing it. 4s are kind of doing repressed because they feel so much. So that means that they do what interests them, but they have to do some good inner work to do what is theirs to do. So fours have all this creativity, which is really only theirs to do because they see things that other people don't see. But when they don't tap into their one, it just doesn't get done. So how does that resonate for you guys?
Well, I think just by the nature of being able to be so creative in your mind,
Yes.
it's like I could spend all day looking at this leaf on a tree and never get out my paintbrushes and paint it.
Right.
Because I'm just enthralled by the beauty of it in my own mind.
Right.
So getting started,
Yeah.
I'm a big procrastinator. And so like just
Absolutely.
getting started on something
Yeah.
is big because it's all going on in here.
Right.
In fact, I had a lady I was dating several years ago, and we were driving down towards Hot Springs on Highway 7. You know, it's through the National Forest, and it's beautiful. And we come to an overlook, and I want to pull the car over.
Get out and
She's
look.
like,
Yes.
she's like,
What are we
no, we
doing?
got to get there, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And I was like, but it's so beautiful. I just said, and as I'm driving, I got my left hand on the steering wheel, so that's up there. And she's like, they're just trees. I live in Arkansas. I see them every day.
You're
And
like,
I
we
was
can't
like-
date anymore.
I did not break up with her immediately, but it did not last long because my
Added
brain
that
went
to the list.
There is no way.
Like, if you can't appreciate beauty, like, we're not going to be
Yes,
okay
yes.
together.
And it's not like
Sorry.
she had to be just like me and go like pull over now, but just acknowledge, you know, it is beautiful, but we'll catch
Yeah.
it on the way back. But
Right,
just like,
something.
yeah,
Like,
they're
just
just
appreciate
trees.
it.
Yeah.
Oh my
And so I
gosh.
feel like even in that moment, just driving the car, I look and it's like almost I could run my car off the road because I'm looking at how beautiful this.
Yeah.
She was probably an 8.
It goes on. It's all going on in here, and that translates to the not being able to get started doing things. You know, that's
Yes.
funny.
She's like, oh, they're just trees. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Or she's in the head triad too.
Yeah, that's
could
true.
Be. We're
Could
not
be
gonna
a-
diss
Could be a
eight.
1. Could be a 1.
Yeah, because they've got their agenda.
Yeah.
My best friend's an 8.
You feel that?
Yeah, I feel it.
It's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I feel like for me, what you said about getting started is like very hard for me as well. And you have to be in like, the stars have to align for
Right,
you to just
you've
be
gotta
able
be
to
in the
like
zone.
walk into
Uh-huh.
something you know you need to do or whatever. And so procrastination is huge for me. So I put down like productivity, but in specific ways, it's like connecting people is really important to me, and things that like whenever you had written or in the description it says like do what is theirs to
Right,
do.
right.
And for me, like I feel like that's connecting people, and so I had started a group when I lived in Kansas called Segway, and it's for young adults, and we just met once a month, and it was just a way for people to get to know each other in town. Like there was no other like category you had to be in. And so when I moved back to Fort Smith, it took a while, but it was like something that I know I like wanted to do again, but it's like really hard to get there. And but just it's the getting started part, you know. So like doing Segway or leading worship or like being in routine, like those are the things that like when I'm in
Yeah.
a 1, that's
Right.
what I'm doing, you
Right.
know, or like eating well and working out and like,
Right.
yeah, just the routine of things that are healthy and
Yeah.
like in my lane,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so.
I love that. So when you're stressed, you guys go to a 2. So remember, stress number is not a bad number. It actually serves you if you're falling down a tree of 4-ness. The 2 is the branch you kind of grab onto. So Suzanne describes that as 4s go to 2 in stress for exactly the connection between the need to look outward. And when they are stressed and they take on 2 behavior, they're more aware of other people, because otherwise it's very self-focused, and more aware of what you might want and the movie you might want to see, etc. And without that, the thing they want, 4s want relationship more than anything else, hands down. But they can't have that unless they can they can make room for you too, for another too. And when they go to 2 in stress, that makes room for that. So 4s want relationship more than anything else. Speak to that.
It's strange because I do see my behavior change. Thinking back, another one of that question, the worst thing that I can experience is also when someone's disappointed in me.
Yep.
Which does sound a lot like a 2 thing, right? But if somebody is, I tend to be over the top and trying to make it right.
Yeah.
I guess because that emotion of feeling like a disappointment.
Mhm.
And so there's definitely that longing for connection, and when you do see that, if you know for sure it's like this is my fault or I've done something or said something, you want to make it right so much that you're just like, or at least I am.
Mm-hmm.
I will over apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go
Yeah.
get you anything?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
We're gonna make this whole day about you.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Because
that's
you're
very
also trying
true.
to get validated by them as well.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what
I
about
get
you?
that. Oofta. This is like the story of my life. Because, like, without relationship, to me, like, nothing makes sense and nothing's, like, worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, like, where my brain goes with this is for a lot of years, because I was single, I would, like, you know, not want to, like, go places by myself, you know, even if it wasn't a significant other, like, I'm going to want someone there experiencing things with me. So maturing and just, like, coming into my own confidence and stuff like that has definitely changed, but, like, the need for a relationship is still, like, at the very bottom of everything, like, connecting, having being an intimate relationship with people, not just, like, the thing you read at the beginning about, like, I'm not going to have a meaningful experience with someone if they just get the, like, bullet points about my life, you know? And it's because, like, I'm wanting the same from them, right? Like, I'm a vulnerable person and want them to be just as vulnerable so that we can have that intimacy, and you realize who you can do that with and who you can't, of course. But it's really special whenever you can find those people to be vulnerable with and who can reciprocate that.
Well said.
So are there certain Enneagram numbers that you vibe with more than others that you know of?
I know this was hard for me because I don't know a ton about the numbers. I know, like, very brief, like, overviews of each of the numbers, so I feel like I thought I was a 7 for a really long time.
I was going to say, I feel like 4s would vibe with 7s.
Yeah. So any 7, I'm like, absolutely.
When Heather told me you were a 4, I was like, oh,
You're like, is she?
I thought she might be a 7. I did think that.
I think that's funny because I think anyone who knows anything about the Enneagram and also knows me thinks that I'm a 7.
Okay.
Because I am very, like, spontaneous, wanting to have fun all the time. And, like, but I'm also, like, there's so much about me that is a 4. And so unless you, I think, know the ins and outs of what a 4 is, then it wouldn't, like, click. But yeah, so, like, 2s and 7s for some reason for me are, like, everything. But I also, like, I really vibe with 9s. So
9s are awesome.
Who doesn't vibe with a 9, though?
Like, 9s are just, like,
9s are like
friends with everyone.
What about you, Jason?
I was gonna say 2s more than anything. I just feel like that kind of loyalty aspect and all that. Like, I feel like they can handle my BS sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, whenever you meet another 4, though, it can be, like, really awesome, but it can also be, like, really, like, oh gosh, this is a lot, even for me. Like, it's a lot of emotion, you know?
You're like, I'm even a lot for myself.
I know.
Yeah. So, like, what do you guys need from us? Like, the people who love 4s, like, what do you need from us?
I would say just that acceptance for who you are.
Okay.
And learning to find the beauty in the quirks and the different way of looking at the world rather than being like, what is wrong with you? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I had a friend one time. I mentioned a lot of movies, but I was watching
that would be a 4 thing.
I was watching a particular movie, and it was I don't even remember what it was now, but I cried at the end of it. And I was talking to a friend on the phone, and I don't know what type he is. We've lost touch over the years, but I was just telling him that I cried. He was like, you cried at that movie? And it wasn't just like a man being like, men don't cry. It was just that movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I said, man, they just all were just lost and looking for meaning in life, and they got to the end of the movie and none of them found it. And so I'm going to use his I'm going to use his words here because I got to be careful as a counselor. I don't want to disparage anybody who's been through addiction or anything like that, but he was just like, dude, the movie's just about a bunch of junkies.
Oh,
It was like, there's nothing sad about that.
That's
No
like
one
it's
gets
just
to
a bunch
yeah.
of trees.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very
That's the
similar to
same
that.
concept.
And
Right.
I was like, man, I don't.
Yeah.
If you can't find the sadness in that, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
He has
So
no soul.
I felt completely. It wasn't just about validating me, but it was.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
almost just made me feel like, is this a person? that-
Humanity.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do tend to do that. We'll generalize it out to
Oh,
big.
Right.
Absolutely.
I one of the songs I wrote, the words to it are, "The world is a messed up place," and I
Yeah.
use stronger language than messed up.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a tragic story to tell. That's the
Yeah.
first line of it, the
Yeah.
opening salvo, and it's like
that's a
sometimes
good one.
sometimes we'll take one conversation with one person, and then it just gets applied to
Yeah, absolutely.
humanity is just awful.
Everything's
Right.
existential
Right.
for us.
Yes.
Right.
Literally
That's a good
everything.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put that
yeah.
at the very end. But yeah, for me, being present and being willing to like listen and reciprocate vulnerability is a huge thing. And appreciating like our sensitivity, or like he said, like our quirks, instead of like seeing it as weaknesses, would be huge. And then just like needing the space to be fully authentic without being abandoned. So those were the
Do you guys ever?
I'm laughing.
Why?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I'm thinking my daughter the other night, she's in this musical, and my daughter.
Of course she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So she's in this musical. She's in Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson. By the
Okay.
way. And so Young Actors Guild. And so she is all excited because the Instagram post comes in and she finds out what part she is, and she's super excited, and she got a part that she didn't expect to get, and she was really excited. And so I look it up on YouTube. Well, next thing I know, she's like, "Let's go watch it. Like that's like right now. Go watch the whole thing."
The whole
Like,
thing.
Yeah, the whole musical, because we found the actual musical that they were doing, and I was like, I really don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what Percy
Right.
Jackson is. You know, but me knowing that meant so
much to her. Yes.
It was like,
Yeah.
Yes.
we're gonna pop some popcorn.
Oh.
We're gonna crawl up in that bed and watch that. And so it was like 2 hours.
Aw.
So we sat there and watched the whole thing.
That you can't ever get back.
2 hours I will never get back. No. But to her, it was like,
Right.
that was so
Right.
probably, I can imagine that it was validating for her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That could be
She,
a core
you know,
memory for her. You never know.
That's
You
right.
never
That's
know.
right.
You never know.
Core
I
memory.
love
I love
that.
that movie.
If you're
Yeah.
listening, Hadley, I love you. She listens to me, by the way.
No, me and my dad watched Top Gun yesterday, and during the opening like scene, we're both like crying.
I love
Have you
it.
seen it yet?
No, I haven't,
It's
but
just
I want to.
the music.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
I've seen
it's
it.
the same music
good.
from
It is
the
good.
one in
Yeah.
the 80s. Like it's so good, but we were both crying.
What
so
is
I
your
was
dad?
telling
Is your dad a 4?
you know, I don't
He's
know
a
what my
DJ,
dad.
so
I don't know. Well, my
could
dad
be a 7.
My dad has a lot of mental health that he's experienced over the last several years too, and so his personality has like totally changed. So I don't know what he is.
We have to find
Be
out.
interesting to know.
So what do you guys love about being a 4?
It's gonna sound like I'm being like, I'm unique.
That's a 4 though.
I just love being able to look at the world and see it differently than most people.
Yeah.
No matter what the subject matter is, whether it's beauty or art or music or even just listening to someone else's problems or things that they've been through or past trauma or what, it's like, and I think that's one thing that drew me to counseling is even in people's trauma, like I feel like I have a gift to be able to find that one nugget of beauty in the most horrific situation and allow myself to be a channel for them to be able to see that.
Yeah.
You know, and I love just being able to look at the world in a different way.
I bet you're a great counselor.
Oh yeah.
I bet so too.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you're
also
looking
as
for
a
a
4
counselor, if you're looking for a great counselor, I happen to know a couple. One to my left, one to my right. Just saying, Anchor Hope Counseling, shout out.
Also, the 4 in me isn't uncomfortable with you saying that. Because I'm like, I don't
So
know,
is
there's
the 9 we
probably a
don't
lot
like
better
attention.
out there.
But inside he's saying, say it more, say
Yeah.
it more. It's validating me.
Keep
No.
going.
9s don't like to assert themselves, so
Yeah.
you're not comfortable. But you know, I first met Jason. I was teaching. I think it was a theories class, and I had them. One of the projects was for them to look at just different ways to connect with clients, and he chose music therapy. And he sang a song for the class.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
Jason for the win.
That's cool.
Jason's
I
a
love
four. Yeah.
You knew it before I knew
I
it.
knew it way back then, but it
That's
was
so
awesome. But also too, like that the way we've had conversations lately, and you're like, I look at it like this, you know, the use of analogies, how you, just the way you see things. I mean, that's really kind of four-ish.
She had me at stew.
Yeah, I know. The stew analogy at the beginning was great.
I'm still like,
great.
yeah, so good.
Yeah,
What do you love
Well,
about
feel
being
free
a
to use
four?
it.
My
Brooke?
stock is chicken.
Chicken.
Well, I love the way he articulated his answer. That
Awesome.
was
Yeah.
like beautiful.
Yeah.
I think the intentionality that I try to bring to the world, I really enjoy that about myself because, you know, friends or whatever, like, will tell me, like, I'm really easy to open up to, and like they enjoy talking to me because I'll sit with them in their sadness or sit with them in something happy, and I'm truly excited with them or whatever. I experience like the emotions that they're feeling and can really be empathetic towards them. So I really enjoy that about myself, and then just like the specific ways I feel like that I value beauty in the world, and the ways that I do feel like I uniquely add to it. Because even though I'm not the best singer, like I know that, but like no one sings like me, you know.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
So I love that. And then there's 8 billion people in the world, and so feeling like you're
You're the only you.
I'm the only me.
That's right.
So everyone's really unique.
Yeah.
That's
Well, our
awesome.
last question we ask everybody is just to kind of tell us, what does the world need to know about fours that we haven't covered? Is there anything that we haven't kind of touched on that's unique to fours?
I put, we're not just crying all the time. Like, I feel like if anyone knows the Enneagram and thinks of fours,
Yeah.
they just think like you're just a ball
Intense
of like
emotions.
crying
Yeah.
all
Right.
the time, and it's
Yeah.
like I do cry a lot, but I
Yeah.
also like love having fun and
Right.
like experiencing life to like its fullest. So that was kind of the biggest thing that
I love that.
Yeah.
I
You
love
don't just
that.
cry all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That was something I think I mentioned to you before we started.
Yeah.
Was like I'm not gonna show up in like with a giant
Right.
crazy hairdo.
Right. What we
like,
visualize a four to look like.
When people hear
Out there.
individualist, they think you're
Yes.
gonna be like, I
Yeah.
think I
Yeah.
said one step away from being Gigi Allen
Yes.
or
I don't know
one of
that.
these
Funny.
punk
I don't
rocker guys.
I'm
But
surprised you
I
don't.
don't.
yeah, he was an awful human being, but he's a good example of an outlier.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
he was in what we call gutter punk. He was in a gutter punk. thing.
Gutter
They
punk.
named that for a reason.
Gutter punk.
Gutter
So
punk.
he was pretty much a
Never even
nasty,
heard of
vile
gutter
individual.
punk.
But people tend to think like, oh, you're gonna be like so far out there.
Yeah.
Is that like a genre
You're
of
good.
music, gutter punk?
Just like
Oh.
shoegazer bands
Like
or like
ska?
shoegazer.
Like
yeah.
ska?
Yes.
Ska back in the day.
Yes.
I love some
Hey,
ska.
Gwen Stefani, come on.
Yeah.
She's the
Oh.
queen of ska.
Yes.
She
went to my high
is.
school.
No
Yes.
way.
Yes.
That's
went?
wild. She went to her
She
high
went to
school.
my high school. Of course.
Gwen Stefani.
I know, like
10
where
years
did you
after
go
me.
to, where did you go to high school?
What a way to wrap
Lower
this thing
high
up.
school.
Deb went to
Anaheim.
school with Gwen Stefani.
I did not go to
She graduated. She's been her best friend.
Sorry.
Gwen's gonna look like she's gonna.
Gwen, please
Gwen.
sponsor. Please like, share, and comment.
Sponsored by
Gwen.
No Doubt.
Don't speak.
That would be my favorite, no doubt
Yeah,
song.
okay.
Me too.
But the whole thing, she's got to be a 4.
Oh, she's
absolutely.
so a four.
She's a
No
four.
doubt.
She's a four.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Pun intended.
Pun intended.
That is funny. That is great.
Okay, well, we haven't laughed as much with the other.
No, this has definitely been.
It's not just crying.
It's not just crying. It's laughing too. That's awesome.
Oh, but thank you so much to our
Yes.
favorite 4s.
Yes. What a great
Yes.
insight.
Jason
you
and
guys
Brooke,
brought.
thank you for being here, and we hope you've enjoyed getting to know more about 4s and a little bit more about the Enneagram. We'll see you next time. If this content has been helpful to you, I'd appreciate it if you would please rate the podcast, post it, and share it on social media. And also post a review. If you'd like to get in contact with me, my phone is 479-561-7600, or email Dr. Deborah at anchoredhopecounseling.net or Dr. Deborah at drdebfordoctors.com.
Our website at www.anchoredhopecounseling.net has some useful information, and you can also reach out to me through the website. Remember, you are enough just the way you are, and you are loved.